What's up, everybody? It's Peter Tragos, the lawyer you know, and on this channel, we break down the trials and cases you care most about so you can understand how the American civil and criminal justice system works. And we try to make sure you understand what your rights are in every situation, which is why we try to walk you through the entire legal process while also answering your insightful questions along the way. And while it's not legal advice, it's always exciting. So buckle up for another episode of The Lawyer You Know. What's up, everybody? Welcome in. We got another day gone by here, a shortened day, which I, for one, loved. A little bit less information to process, but last time, yesterday, there were two main components to the day. One was a statement made by Alec Murdaugh. It seems like there's a big statement every single day, which is, again, why I don't think he's going to take the stand. And then there was also the cross-examination of the lead investigator, and we went through the entire cross-examination of the lead investigator. Well, today, two main components again. I was going to say accident reconstructionist, but more an incident reconstructionist. And then yet again, another statement by Alec Murdaugh. And today we will be going through the entirety, or most of, I shouldn't say the entirety, most of that statement by Alec Murdaugh. We are going to talk about the reconstructionist, of course, but the bulk of the video will be listening into and thinking about and discussing together, right? Because this is what we do best on this channel. You guys are all potential jurors. I love to hear your opinion. I want your opinion. Agree or disagree, respectfully as possible in the chat, realizing we're going to have differences of opinion. And if you're back there in the jury, I feel like jurors usually have a lot of respect for each other because they realize we are all in this for a reason. We were all brought in here. We were all picked because we think we can be fair and unbiased. So let's kind of talk through this together. But I want to talk about the different ways pro-prosecution, pro-defense, pro-Alec Murdaugh, anti-Alec Murdaugh, whatever, that everything surrounding this roadside incident can be used and thought through in a murder trial, not including that set in circumstances, okay? So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to look at it from all angles. But first, we're going to get to that incident reconstructionist, and I almost forgot, hit that like button. We still have not gotten to 10,000 likes on an Alec Murdaugh video. We've gotten 8, we've gotten 9, we've gotten over 9, but we have not hit 10. So let's see if we can get to 10K likes today and hit that subscribe button. We're continuing to work, continuing to grow and build together so that we can have as many different voices in the discussion as possible and as many different people learning about this stuff together, because I think it's important, and that's why we do it. I did see a lot of funny stuff before I came in, like Stacy, not me over here anticipating Peter's take, more than I am waiting on my chips, salsa, and queso at my favorite Tex-Mex restaurant. That one made me laugh. A lot of you guys just make it really fun right from the jump to discuss this stuff, even though most topics like today are pretty brutal and sad. But this is interesting. The judge said they opened the door. Therefore, they get to talk about the roadside incident, and boy, did they talk about it. Now, we still have not heard exactly how the defense is going to use it, although I have a sneaking suspicion of what I expect Harpootlian to do tomorrow. Harpootlian, every time there's a T. I like calling him Harpootlian because sometimes it's funny when you mispronounce Big Shot's names. I don't know why. I didn't do it on purpose, but that's what comes out when I say his name and when I see his face. All right. It was funny also at the beginning of the day when Jim Griffin said he watched YouTube to see exactly what he said. So they are watching, and I will just tell you, whatever YouTube channel he decided to watch, probably not one with commentary would be my guess. He probably just watched a stream of the trial. But I will tell you that when you put up the stream of the trial, they recommend other videos. And I'm just going to give a guess that they may have recommended Emily Baker. And if he listened over to her and saw what she thought and saw what she's saying and saw what all you guys are saying in there, I think that's pretty interesting. Maybe Rakita. I know he's streaming it too. And some others that were streaming it. And I think it's interesting because once you watch one, it is going to recommend other videos. And did he watch? That's something I thought of when he mentioned YouTube today. So the judge made a comment, something like the defense walked through fire and didn't expect it to get burned, but they did. There was also a competency issue when he was making statements at the hospital, and it seems like they made some agreements once the judge said the door was open and they can get into this roadside incident. Both sides worked together, streamlined it. So it seems where they just are going to put it in through this cop. It doesn't seem like Cousin Eddie's going to testify for the state, although Harpootlian welcomes it. But they're going to put in this one cop and just a couple of the statements. We are going to listen to the 911 tape, the ambulance video, and then a large portion of the post-rehab statement Murdaugh made. But again, first, the guy that will answer to anything. He was a super nice witness, very nice guy. Harpootlian said on cross, you might regret that if you answered anything I call you, but he said he answers to chief and professor and doctor, and the state just wanted to go on and on and on about his credentials. Now he's an expert, to the point that the defense was like, we'll stipulate, judge. And we do that all the time. And it's strategic on both ends. And this was like a bit like mock trial. Honestly, this reminded me a bit of mock trial because and somebody just said in here, this is interesting. I just saw this pop up. That's why I can't look at the chat while I'm talking. But Permanent Juror said, my husband is an actual judge and your channel is the only thing remotely related to anything legal that we can watch together. He appreciates that you never put anyone down. Congratulations on 200K. Well, the main reason for that is because I'm probably because I'm still practicing, and I appreciate that. And I think that if any judge that I was going to go to trial on was to watch any of my videos, I would want to feel okay about it. That's kind of how I live my life, right? It's like as if your mom was watching. And that's how I feel, and that's how I do my videos. So I do appreciate that and thank him for what he does, because it's not an easy job, and it's easy for people to hate on the judges. We've even disagreed with some things this judge has said, right? But you do it respectfully, and nobody's got a problem with it. Okay, so in mock trial, when we have an expert, one of the things we teach the students, or when I was in mock trial, what we do is we build up that expert. Well, sometimes you don't want the jury to hear what a great expert is, so you just say, we stipulate they're an expert. But then it stops. So they don't get to hear that, in my world, they're the doctor for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or whatever, which is going to automatically make a juror like this doctor. But a smart lawyer, just like Waters, said, Judge, I appreciate that they're stipulating, but I will still go through his credentials. And he continued to go through his credentials, and they were lengthy and they were probably boring. I skip through the credentials most of the time, but I'm saying when I'm watching a trial, but the jury was probably like, wow, this guy seems legit. And I think that when we got to it, he definitely seemed like a legitimate big shot expert. And I think that that's really important to put in front of this jury, especially when you've struggled a little bit throughout the case. So what is this guy here to do? That's what I try to do in these recaps. This guy was here to explain how the shots happened, how the bodies moved, and how potentially one shooter could do this. That's what I got from it. A lot of the beginning of his testimony was just like the medical examiner, how the bullets went in, where they were standing, when they kind of fell over. But some new things came out, that the shooter was in the doorway of the feed room when he shot Paul, so close that the barrel of the gun was actually inside the feed room, so he thought. And on the second fatal shot, Paul, his shoulder and head were actually outside the door, and that shot was at a very weirdly low angle, angling up. And so I guess, and then for Maggie, he was only 5 or 6 feet away from Maggie when he pulled the triggers there. So again, I don't think pretty much anything this guy said made it more or less likely that it was in fact Alec Murdaugh that did this, but I think he at least gave us some plausible explanations about how one person could have committed these crimes. I also think one of the most important things he did was just X out, not a possibility, some of the explanations the defense is trying to give, including the red herring of that this was self-inflicted by Paul. I don't think that the defense is really even arguing that. They might just throw it out there as just another possibility. He said absolutely not. And I think his expert opinion, most jurors are going to put that out of their mind and say there's no way that this was self-inflicted. The defense has thrown it out there as a possibility. This expert, whom we believe because he's qualified, said no way. I think that's just out the door. Also, no way the shot came from the top to Paul. And then he demonstrated the fatal, or one of the shots to Maggie, how deplorable it was behind her as she was crouched over, laying down, when Creighton Waters literally got on the floor again, that I know. Emily D. Baker gets in the chat about how funny she thinks that is. When lawyers are literally crawling on hands and knees, it seems to me like Waters likes that. He seems to always be on the floor. As much as the other prosecutor likes touching witnesses, Creighton Waters likes touching the floor. He does. Here's another thing that he did, okay, which I think was important. If you like this guy, and this is what I try to tell you, if jurors are with the state, they absolutely loved this guy, and this guy is going to make them feel more confident about their guilty verdict, and it's going to help them with how horrible this investigation was, because he did a little bit of explaining away the poor investigation. You don't need to pick up every pellet as long as you know what type of shot and shell it is and the way it is. You don't necessarily have to have the actual weapon, although it would have been nice. He even said it in a couple of his demonstrations and explanations. He also said that he did not want to disagree with the medical examiner, so he's doing his best to keep it all consistent. Although there's absolutely no doubt that he had to speculate a bit, that he had to guess a bit, that he had to stretch a bit and take his own measurements, and things were moved because the day of the actual crime, they didn't do all of the things he needed to be done. And we found out in cross, he came in even later in the process because he was the second expert they hired, and we'll talk about that when we get there. Also, a big reveal was that footprint on Maggie's calf was actually closer to the ATV, and I was thinking, oh, wow, maybe he drove the ATV over Maggie's leg, and if the ATV was still there, maybe that actually does point to Alec Murdaugh. But then we find out he wasn't actually testifying that he thought, or that any of the evidence pointed to the fact that he ran over her leg, but more likely she bumped into it or something on the way down. Again, proving not so much to me. I don't really think that was much to say, except for, I guess, it wasn't a footprint that could prove it was somebody else. So I guess he did that. He took out the fact that it was a footprint. That was good, but it wasn't. But the evidence that he said it was, which was like this tire mark from the ATV, I don't think was incredibly probative. He's also peer reviewed, which of course is very important. We know, having somebody else look at it and give their own independent opinion. It was weird. He was like, was Paul 5'6" or 5'9", or I just picked somewhere in the middle? It's like, don't you think we have that information somewhere? No way the phone could have popped out of his back pocket. I could have told you that. It did seem like he was a bit of a broad expert, right? And when he didn't want to answer a question for Harpootlian, he would say, well, I'm not a ammunition expert or something like that. But, and then again, explaining away a negligent investigation, any forensic value, this is something he testified to, any forensic value to swabbing the drains and other things at a family member's house was greatly diminished because all family members' DNA would easily be all over that, and it would be easily explained away. Just like the defense has explained away a lot of the DNA transfer and on each other and in the car and whatever. They're all family members. They're together all the time. Grandma's house, Moselle, beach house, cars, whatever. And so again, I thought that was pretty good. It's giving some comfort, I think, to the jurors. And there are some of you here in the chat. This probably makes you feel a little bit better about maybe just like some of Alec Murdaugh's lies don't really matter. Like whether it was 20 minutes or 30 minutes, it doesn't really matter because it was after the murders. He's comforting you, saying this was a crappy investigation, but some of the stuff they didn't do really doesn't matter. And I think that that's really important. And I think he did that and gave some solace to some of the jurors wanting to vote that way. He did talk about how 300 blackouts are loud. So should Alec have heard it? Should Dale have heard it? Just a mile and a half away. How loud really are they? And he confirmed no struggle between Paul and the shooter. Okay. Then we get to the cross-examination, which of course he uses with some jokes and to remind the jury that he actually was a solicitor and this guy was an expert on some of his case. He thought he looked familiar. They went into the fact that there was no stippling, is what this expert said, who disagrees with the medical examiner. He said the shooter for Paul was only 2 feet away. The medical examiner said 3 to 4 feet away. He clearly disagreed, but said, oh, I don't want to disagree with the medical examiner. They talked about the weird angle of the fatal shot to Paul. And Harpootlian's like, why the heck would that happen? And it seems like they were really trying to prove it must have been somebody shorter. But I thought this expert did a really good job of saying, no, it wasn't somebody shorter. It was somebody holding the gun in a very weird spot. And I don't know why people do what they do. Crouched over, bending down, falling down, sitting down, whatever. But it wasn't just like a shorter than average male, like a 5'6" male. Or I guess it'd have to be even shorter because Paul's 5'6" to 5'9". And okay, so here's the point that I did think was pretty important that Harpootlian got off, which was they hired this Bevel guy who the defense is making sure the jury hears that name over and over again. That's the horrible blood spatter expert. He was the first expert. I think the jury knows that he gave false information to Owen, who brought it to the grand jury about blood spatter on the white shirt, which clearly doesn't have. And now they're hearing this is the guy they hired after because Bevel was just dead wrong. So they had to find somebody else to pay to give them what they needed for this trial. And lawyers that do that, it's very dangerous. You guys have asked, when you hire an expert, do you automatically have to disclose things? Once they make reports, you have to disclose them in discovery like they did with Bevel. And then they got this kind of secret memo that just nuked Bevel's testimony. So they didn't use him, but the defense knows about it and they're allowed to tell the jury, oh, they were kind of expert shopping to get something good. And if jurors are, keenly aware of that, which, they don't have somebody explaining to them the process necessarily, so maybe they're not. But I think that's a good point that he scored during cross. But overall, I thought this witness was good, positive for the prosecution. Redirect, after he did all the demonstrations with Harpootlian, Waters was like, any of that change your mind? Expert's like, no. And then we move on to the main event, which was Ryan Kelly, the roadside investigator. And one of the first things we did was hear the 911 call with the original story of what happened at the roadside. So let's get into that now and take a listen to this 911 recording. So the first two recordings we're going to get are Alex's initial story. And while we think about this, let's think about this compared to the murder trial that we are here for and how easily and with no problem he just lies to law enforcement about a shooter and gives them all this false information. Let's remember that when we compare it to this case. But remember, I'm going to be pretty balanced here because there's going to be some things that I think help and hurt both sides from all these statements. So let's start out here first with the 911 tape.
Secretary 911, what's your emergency?
Oh, Saltahatchee Road.
Okay, what's the address on Saltahatchee Road?
I'm by the church.
What church? What church are you talking about?
I don't know the name of it with the red roof.
Okay, what in the Saltahatchee Road? I don't know what you're talking about.
At the Hampton County side.
Okay, what's going on?
I got a flat tire,
Mm-hmm.
and I stopped, and somebody stopped to help me. And when I turned my back, they tried to shoot me.
Oh,
Changing a flat tire. Somebody stopped, tried to help me. When I turned my back, they tried to shoot me. That's the original story. He was ready with it. So anybody that thinks, oh, he couldn't have made this up on the fly when it happened with the murder. By the way, this is exactly what you're not supposed to use it for, but we can't help ourselves. And that's why I don't think it should have come in, because what we're using it for is literally propensity evidence and character assassination. That's all this roadside incident really proves. He's a liar. Not going to call him any names, but he is a confirmed liar and easily making up stories immediately when calling law enforcement after something happens.
okay, were you shot?
Yeah, but I'm okay.
But I'm okay.
You shot where? Where were you shot at?
Huh?
Did they actually shoot you or they tried to shoot you?
They shot me, but
Okay, where, you need EMS?
well, I mean, yeah, I can't drive,
Okay,
and I'm bleeding a lot.
what part of your body?
I'm not sure. It's somewhere on my head.
Your head?
I mean, even that seems unbelievable. You're not sure where you got shot? He's like somewhere on my head.
Somebody just stopped for me, man. For 911.
Okay, still?
Hey,
Okay, let me speak to him, see if he can tell me exactly
Now, if we're being fair and we're continuing to compare, he's way more calm on this call.
where you are.
For the record, I'm stopping that at 141. Got me.
We're going to skip ahead now to the
45.
ambulance video.
Video.
Tell me,
I'm going on the road. roundabout, I pulled over, and this car went by me. I didn't pay a lot of attention, truck, but then it turned around, came back. A real nice guy, acted like, and I turned my head, and I mean, boom.
Okay. You know what kind of gun it was?
I don't know what kind of gun it was, but it sounded like a shotgun, even though it was so loud. It didn't sound like a 22. I know that's what they think it is, but
I mean, literally just lying. I mean, he knew it wasn't a 22. I think it was a 36 something. I don't even know what all that means. But like talking about these details is just so weird, trying to correct them and talking a lot. And again, that's what he did, I think, with the murders as well.
it didn't sound like a 22.
It was like a small caliber hole. Yeah.
Small caliber?
Yeah, small caliber.
But it was extremely loud. Like
What's your name?
Alec Murdaugh.
Okay. What's your date of birth?
5/27/68.
Over here, buddy.
You're good. You're good. What's a good telephone number, Miss Murdaugh?
942-1227.
What's your address?
PO Box 457.
457 Hackney.
3 South and Cape Temple, 3 South and Cape Temple. Uniform Nancy Popper, 116, uniform Nancy Popper.
So what did you say? It's a blue color pickup. It's a Ford, a GMC, or what?
It wasn't a Ford, I know that.
It wasn't a Ford. Like a Ram type, or
You know,
It's weird how someone can lie like this, right? We know he's lying at this point, confirmed. With the murder cases, we can believe, we can think, we can, be pretty resolute in our mind. But this, he literally admitted all of this was just a lie. And he so easily did this.
I think it was a GMC or a Chevrolet, but
GMC.
I'm not totally positive.
Yeah, lucky, mate. I agree.
I got promise of you not.
So you had a flat tire in Mercedes Benz, went inside the road, tried to change the tire. The blue color pickup came inside you, thought everything was okay, and then you think of a shotgun and just shot. How many times did fire?
I think just one time.
What time?
I lost my vision right when it first happened. And I think
You gonna find out?
Oh, we're fine. Yeah, we're fine. Yeah, we can't handle that.
Okay.
No traumas are hitting like that.
When the flight
We'll find out.
we'll find out where. Okay. Let me get some pictures of them. 1 second. All right. For the
So we're going to jump ahead a little bit to the next thing we're going to look at is the sketch that he gave to police. Okay. And somebody sent me side by side of, I think it was Mallory Beach or somebody involved with the boat accident, their boyfriend. And it looks pretty similar. And it would just be even more horrible if he was trying to set up some kid that didn't do anything. I'm not going to say he did that, but that's what somebody sent to me. And this was the sketch he gave. Now, what boggled my mind is he could give such a specific, incorrect sketch just to lie and waste time and resource. I mean, this is mind blowing that a lawyer would do this. This story is so unbelievable. And I tweeted that it is so hard for me to believe that a jury full of lay people is going to acquit somebody that they know was capable of this. That does not mean they proved murder, but sometimes you don't have to when you have the generally bad guy rule and you can just stack on stack on stack all the horrible stuff that he's done. And that's exactly what they've done. Somebody said here, Lynn, this is like 3 trials in 1. The scope of this has been open so far crazy. And I think inappropriately. We've talked about the boat case. We've talked about stealing from clients like Satterfield. We've talked about stealing from the law firm. We've talked about the Roadside incident, and we've talked about murders. And we've talked about, drugs. It's another case, right? Drug buying, selling, dealing, gangs. It's like 6 different cases in 1. It's insane. How they can limit this to just trying to make a decision on the murder, I think, is one of the most difficult parts. I did think it was a slick move by the prosecution to show his assistant solicitor badge that he was carrying around with him. I have no idea how it works there. We can't just prosecute cases here in Florida if we want to on the side. But here is where I begin to see some major differences between this case and the murders. We talked about calm. We talked about the difference in kind of his demeanor in the 911 calls. But they literally they go back and during their investigation, they find a knife literally across the street from where his tire hit something that caused it to go flat. They could never find anything that hit his tire, but they did find a pocket knife. And guess whose DNA was on it? Alec Murdaugh and Cousin Eddie. So this guy was so bad at committing this crime, he didn't even like throw it in the bushes. He didn't bury it. He didn't get rid of it before the cops got there. He didn't keep it in his pocket even. Might have been more believable that it wasn't used. He literally popped a run flat tire again to get an insurance policy. Somebody said there was no life insurance. There was. Somebody said there was a suicide clause. There was, but it lapsed after 2 years. So he literally could have committed suicide and still collected the money. But this guy, we're going to see how horrible Alec Murdaugh is at committing crimes. And somebody also posted on Twitter, well, if he's so horrible at committing crimes, how did he get away with these financial crimes for all these years? I have an explanation for that. People were either scared of him and his power and his connections. They were too trusting of him, or most people, I think, that should have known and didn't call or make an investigation into this because they were making so much money on him. Like Jacuzzi said here, he was Eddie's money train. He wasn't just Eddie's money train. His law partners, we heard, he was one of the biggest producers. The CFO, the runner, everybody was eating off Alec's plate a little bit. The bank, millions of dollars he was paying. He was probably bringing other funds there from his clients and people that he knew and buddies that he knew with generational wealth like this. So nobody wanted to look into it because, as Mark Tinsley said so brilliantly, I would have figured out what I think he said a 5-year-old or a 5th grader could have figured out. And he's right. Anybody who would have made the call and looked into Alec Murdaugh's financial situation would have known immediately he was stealing money and committing financial fraud. He was not good at it. He was trusted. People were making money off of him. That's why he was able to continue those. And we're going to continue to see how horrible of a job he did committing this crime. Let's see what else we got. Entered the sketch. Randy told him Alec was in the hospital multiple times. We confirmed Randy had nothing to do with this. Buster had nothing to do with this. They didn't know. They talk about the financial crimes a little bit. They talk about the insurance cards. I'm still not positive what the connection is there. And then eventually they interviewed him. And what's interesting about this interview, this is post-shot, post-rehab with Harpootlian and Griffin clearly controlling the narrative. Some people said, and I'm going to put a lot of comments up about this interview. Somebody said, Greg said, phone conversation seemed rehearsed. Absolutely, it was rehearsed with him and his lawyers. I don't personally think there's anything wrong with that, but absolutely. And if the jurors think this is so horribly rehearsed and Harpootlian was controlling the narrative, and I was thinking, wow, I'll save it for when we actually hear Harpootlian like testify on this and it came out in front of the jury. I would have wanted to cut that out if I was the state, but let's get to it. And here's going to be the bulk of the video here today as we run through about 30 minutes, a little less than 30 minutes, about 28 minutes of this interview. And I am going to bump it up just a little bit. I think we can all handle 1.5 speed. That's kind of our thing, right? All right, here we go.
I met with Jim Griffin and Chief Jesse. And then what? I met Anthony and I met with Mr. Wilson at my mom's house.
Okay. And you and Chris were talking about what?
About everything I had done.
Okay, everything you had done concerning finances.
Finances, bills, lives.
Okay. Now,
I confess what I did. Everything concerning finances. It's all out there. Everybody knows he committed these crimes. This is what reasonable evidence beyond a reasonable doubt looks like.
okay, were you taking, well, first of all, let me back up and just say, you had a long-standing OxyContin for opioid addiction issue?
Yes, sir.
How many years?
Best I can remember, around 20 years, 18 to 20 years.
Okay. Now, on this particular day, on this Saturday, were you taking the OxyContin or taking any opioids?
I had taken some, but I given it all that I had someone else, and I'd taken some at like 4 a.m., so I was having some withdrawals.
Okay. And the previous day, the news had come out about your embezzling or taking client money, law firm money. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And how would you describe your state of mind at that time?
I was in a very bad place.
What does that mean?
I thought it would be better for me not to be here anymore.
What do you mean by not be here anymore?
I thought that it would make it easier on my family for me to be dead.
And easier, was some financial gain to your family if you were dead?
I have a fair amount of life insurance debt.
You remember how much?
Not off the top of my head, but like $10 million, $12 million.
Okay. And so you decided to end your life.
That's correct.
And tell these sweat agents how you went about arranging that.
I called Curtis Eddie Smith on the telephone.
Okay, now let's stop for a second. Who is Curtis Eddie Smith?
Curtis Eddie Smith is the primary person who I purchased bills from for years.
And some weeks you would give him how much money for bills?
I mean, it'll be in my records, but we had weeks where there would be $40,000, $50,000, $60,000.
That you would give him for bills?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you've known him for how long?
It's a lot of pills.
Years. So did you call him that morning?
Yes, sir, I did.
That day? About what time?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
But I asked him,
Was it after you met with Jim Griffin?
it was after I met with Jim
After
Griffin.
you met with Chris Wilson?
I believe so.
Okay, and when you called him, what did you ask him?
I asked him to meet me.
Did he meet you?
He did.
Where did he meet you?
He met me out not too far from my mom's house.
Where?
He was on the side of the road. I think at the funeral home.
At the funeral home. Okay, and did y'all talk?
Not there. He followed me in town
To where?
to over where I stopped by the Sunoco gas station.
Okay, did y'all have a discussion there?
Yes, sir.
Did y'all get out of your cars or just in your vehicle?
I don't think we got out of our cars.
And what vehicle were you in?
I was in my wife's Mercedes.
And what was he in?
He was in a gray pickup truck.
Okay, and what did y'all discuss?
I told him that things were getting ready to get really bad and that I would be better off not here. And I asked him to shoot me.
And you asked him to shoot you?
That's correct.
And what was his response?
I mean, I think at first he was a little surprised, but then he said, okay.
Did you tell him where you wanted him to shoot you?
Yes, sir.
Where did you tell him you wanted him to shoot you?
In the head?
And did you tell him how you were going to arrange that? What was going to be the logistics of that?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
I told him to follow me out and that I would make a flat tire and he would go past me and turn around and come back and do it.
And did he follow you out?
He did.
Now, where did he get the gun?
I gave it to him.
Where did you give it to him?
We stopped somewhere on Saltahatchee Road, I believe.
Did y'all have a discussion there or did you just give him the gun?
We didn't have much discussion.
When you say much, was there any discussion?
I'm not sure. I was worried about the cars coming, and so it was a very fast thing.
You gave him, what kind of weapon did you give him?
A revolver pistol,
What caliber?
38.
Okay, and that was your gun?
38, not a 36.
Okay, and so he followed you out to where?
Saltahatchee Road.
Okay, and did you pull off the road?
Yes, sir.
And you pulled off the road, what did you do?
I stopped, made my tire flat
How did you make your tire flat?
with a knife.
Whose knife?
Mine.
What did you do with the knife after you made your tire flat?
Threw it
Which tire?
back driver's side
Back driver's side. You threw it where?
across the road.
Across the road?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We know that's true because they found it there. I like how they start to blame Eddie for being the bad guy and accepting this and things like that. It's like, dude, this was your plan. Eddie is what he is, but this was your plan and you brought him into it. And then they talk about not paying him, but then we heard he gave $500,000 to Eddie. So there's all sorts of lies, I think, within the lies, which at this point, can you blame anybody for thinking everything Alec Murdaugh says is a lie? And I think that's what the state is trying to prove.
I mean, was there woods over there, a ditch, or do you know?
Just some grass, like thick grass.
Okay. And after you did that, he passed you? Did he pass you as you're doing that?
I think that he already passed me and was in front of me and went down the road, turned around and come back.
Now, when he was coming back, you gave him a pistol. What was your intent?
For him to kill me.
Okay. And when he came back,
Yeah, I mean,
did he stop? Did he pull up,
Harpoolian wants
He
to
did.
make sure everybody knows the intent was to be dead.
And when he pulled up, did you look in his face?
I don't think so.
So what happened next?
I stood close to his car.
And
He shot me.
where did he shoot you?
He missed and hit me in the very back of the head.
Okay. And as a result of being hit in the back of the head, did that have any physical effect on you?
It did.
What happened?
I lost my vision for a little bit, and I'm not sure if it knocked me to the ground or not, but I was disoriented, and it took me like a minute and a half, 2 minutes for my sight to come back.
And did you remember him driving off? Did you hear him drive off? Drive off?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Now, after you came to your senses, did your vision come back?
It came back.
Okay. And what's the first time you remember somebody else being there?
I remember there were two cars that came, and one of them didn't stop, and one of them did stop.
And when it stopped, what did they do?
They tried to help me.
In what way?
And getting me to in every way to first we got in, they were crowded in their car. For some reason why their car was crowded, and I'm not sure what that was. But so the young lady got in my car and was going to drive me to the hospital, and I just wasn't thinking about the flat tire. And so we had to get out of that, and then they worked it out somehow for me to be able to get in their car in the front passenger seat.
Okay, so you got the front passenger seat Where did he take you?
To meet the ambulance.
Have you, have you called 911?
Yes, sir.
Did you tell them somebody shot you?
Yes, sir.
So that's right.
At my request.
So your intent was to have him kill you so you could collect your life insurance, right?
So my son could. I knew I was about to lose everything, and I figured he's better off that way than dealing with me.
Now this gentleman that shot you, give me his name again.
Curtis Smith,
What kind of vehicle is he driving?
great truck.
Okay, and it's probably not relevant, but I'm intrigued by the fact how long.
It's probably not relevant, but I'm intrigued by the fact, and this is when he again tries to blame Eddie and make sure Eddie gets, arrested for this. It's very weird, but I don't think it's relevant either, Dick.
How long was it? Have you ever discussed with him before killing you? Oh, you committed suicide.
No, sir.
How long did it transpire between the time you asked him to shoot you in the head on the side of the road and he actually shot you in the head on the side of the road?
When I first asked him, we were at the Sunoco station in Farmville.
How long after that did he actually shoot you in the head?
However long it takes to drive from there to talk at you, brother.
More than half an hour?
I don't think so.
Did he ever ask you to reconsider or say, things aren't that bad? Did he ever, try to convince you to do otherwise?
No, sir.
You find that strange?
I didn't. I was focused on
Focus on what?
being home.
So that's all the questions I have, but I tried to lay it out as expeditiously as possible, but he'll be happy to answer any other questions. Any additional questions I can.
Okay.
Interviewers, so y'all have that. We've got about another 20 minutes.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Stacy, yes. He was in rehab when he made this call. His lawyers were there with him.
Y'all recording this, aren't you?
Yes, sir, we are.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So, Alex, how long have you known Curtis Smith?
Ryan, Officer Kelly, before we start, I just want to tell you, I apologize to you for lying to you in the hospital. I was in a very bad place.
No, so
I do feel kind of bad for him. Listen, I have a heart. I know people that make mistakes. He was addicted to drugs and he apologized. And I feel like that's a positive. And we've said a lot of bad things about him and pointed out the bad things he's done. I hope he was genuine. I hope he's telling the truth now, doing the right thing. I hope he just pleads guilty to all of the financial crimes and the insurance fraud and things like that and does the right thing, because I do feel bad for him when he does apologize for lying to them personally. I know a lot of you probably don't, but yeah, Lisa, it's wild, right? Maybe we'll get to those 10K likes tonight.
We understand. And I do appreciate you, helping us figure this out now. So that's in the past. So let's just focus on what we're doing now. How long have you known Curtis?
I've known him for years. I represented him. He knew my dad somehow for playing softball, and he came to my dad with a lawsuit, and I handled that case. So I would guess 10, 12
Okay.
years ago.
How often would y'all talk on the phone?
Very frequently.
Okay. And what would y'all talk about?
Getting pills.
Okay. And you would pay him money to get you pills, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How often would you pay him?
Frequently.
Okay. Well, once a week, twice a week?
It would vary sometimes, but it was several times a week.
How would you pay him?
In cash, and mostly in checks, but in some cash too.
Okay.
So a
and
lot
what
of
accounts would
people
those checks come from?
had a lot to say about the checks and the cash. So I don't know what he wrote on the check. I don't know if he wrote drugs in the memo line, but that's not the craziest story. Because I have a story where somebody hired a hit on their wife, whom we represented, and paid with a personal check. Now, it was an undercover agent, so it all worked out well for us, thank God. But you would be surprised. I will just tell you, you would be surprised. And thank you, Jay-Z, and all the new members for taking the plunge and joining us just in time, too, because our February membership video is coming up soon.
The vast majority of them would come from the Bank of America account, but there would also be some funds that would come from the Palmetto State account.
Whose accounts are those?
Mine. The Bank of America.
What names are they in? We're about to hear all of the answers about Forged and all this stuff. So what's interesting is it's kind of annoying that we had to hear all that financial crimes. We should have just played this because he admits to all the financial crimes right there. We didn't have to hear 3 days of testimony, right? But the state wanted to pound it into the jury's head how horrible he was and listened and look at all the victims that he affected and he wronged. Not in the crimes we're charging him with here, but in other bad acts.
Finance accounts are in my name, and then there's another account there that I created that's a DBA. That's my name, DBA Forge, and then my checking account at Family State Bank.
Okay, so there's two accounts at Bank of America?
Yes, sir.
The DBA and then your checking?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what is the DBA?
Forge, F-O-R-G-E.
Thank you. Okay, and then the Palmetto is your was your other checking account?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and who was he? So you were paying him the money. Do you know who he was getting the drugs from?
No, sir.
What did he tell you where he's getting?
Oh, well, I was told that he got them from a black guy in Walterboro, and I was told that he had some connections in Buford. But never.
Did he give you a name?
No, sir. I never saw those guys. I never dealt with those guys. I don't know.
So here's some of the important part, right? Because we know they've put in front of this jury, it's the drug dealers, it's the other guys. We're still in danger. It could have been them. Well, the state is about to poke some holes in the defense's argument. I know this sounds backwards, but listen closely to how he talks about the drug dealers and whether or not he was afraid that any of them were going to harm him or his family.
That's what he told me.
Would you ever give anybody else money for drugs?
Yes, sir.
Who else did you give money?
Ashley, I feel like this has been me for the last 2 weeks doing videos with this cough I can't get rid of.
I had given Kenny Hughes money.
Who's Kenny Hughes?
He's the guy that I called up and asked him if he knew anybody that he could tell us from.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him I had a client that had issues and couldn't get them medically, and that, you know, and I would pay him as well. But I called him up and asked him to do it.
All right, how much money do you think you gave him?
Hey, Heather, I can answer this for you. The answer is no.
No idea.
Okay, did you write him a check or pay him cash?
So,
Okay. Did you pay anybody else?
no, sir.
So it was just Curtis Smith and Kenny Hughes.
Yes, sir.
Sure about that? Think about it.
In the past, I have paid other people.
Okay, who are those other people?
I had a lady that worked at our house that, at our mom's house that,
And who's that?
Barbara Mixon. But that was on very, very few occasions.
And did you pay her cash and check, or how'd you pay her?
I'm not sure. I mean,
Okay.
that was on very limited occasions.
Okay. Is there anybody else?
Not that I can think of right now.
Okay. So the .38 revolver, it was your revolver?
Yes, sir.
Okay, where did you get that from?
It was at my mom's house.
When did you pick it up?
So does he stash guns at his mom's house? Or was it his dad's gun that he went and got? Is that something the jurors are going to talk about and ask? I don't know. A lot's coming out in all these statements made by Alec Murdaugh.
I went up there that day.
Do you know where it is now?
No, sir.
So you gave the gun to Curtis, and you don't know what he did with it?
That's correct.
Has anybody in your family had any communications with Curtis recently?
I don't know why.
Well, because when we interviewed him, he said he had to talk to his attorney first, and he listed you. And then when we said that wasn't possible, he listed Randy. So we're just trying to figure out.
Randy's not going to represent him.
And let me say this to maybe.
Well, I got one more question. Does Randy have any knowledge of this?
Does Randy have any knowledge of what?
Of this attempted suicide / agreement with Curtis?
I had told I told both my brothers and my son very recently.
Yesterday.
When was it
Yesterday. After we told him we're coming here so that he could tell you, he wanted them to hear from him first.
Okay, so Randy didn't have any knowledge last week, previously?
No.
Absolutely not. I lied to him too.
Alec told me yesterday about 4:15, and then I sort of tipped John Marvin off, and then later on I learned that, and I talked to Alec, and he had called Buster, John Marvin, and Randy after I spoke with him at 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon.
Once again, Griffin is just right in the middle of it. He's right in the middle of it, always.
Not we didn't do that. We're trying to.
And before that, I told them the same lies that I told you.
Now here's an important thing. Since the shooting, have you talked to the shooter?
Yeah.
Okay, tell them about those calls.
I'm not sure. I was in the very beginning of my detox, and I could just see where I tried to call on the phone. And I know I talked to him, but I don't have it.
You called him or he called you?
I called him.
Okay, but you don't remember what he said.
I don't.
Do you remember what you told him?
No, sir.
And this is when you were in the hospital in Savannah?
No, this is when I was in detox here.
Okay, so you called him because you went to detox.
Has the investigation revealed, as you testified before, that the defendant, like Murdaugh, did call Eddie Smith, trying to use staff phones as well while he was at the hospital additionally in Savannah?
Yes, Mr. Murdaugh was able to contact Mr. Smith while staying in the hospital in Savannah.
Lies within lies. Even when he's telling the truth, he's lying. Even when he's admitting he's lying, he's lying. This is bad. This is bad. Do I think this proves murder? No, but this is bad. I'm telling you, when juries hear this stuff, they hate the person sitting in that chair, and it is very hard for them to acquit him. They feel like it is very clear in their mind, Alec Murdaugh deserves to be punished. And we all, I think, in this chat would agree with that, right? I mean, is there anybody in this chat that thinks Alec Murdaugh shouldn't go to prison, period? Not for this, but just period. I like finding things we can all agree on, and I think that's something we can all agree on. Now, whether or not he deserves to go through here, I think there's some disagreements. But the jury's sitting there thinking, like, this is a bad dude. I don't want to be the person that puts him back out on the streets, even though that's not what's going to happen, which I thought it was very smart for the defense to say he has been charged for every single one of these financial crimes.
When? Monday night?
That's right.
Did you call him on the nurse's phone from the hospital? I've heard that from.
But you know what? Randy did say I did that.
But you don't have a memory of that.
Randy said that I called him, and then he was asking me. He did say I did that.
Oh. But you don't remember phone calls.
I don't, but I'll tell you from past experience that when withdrawals begin, you do just about anything to make them quit. And
he's like, all right, maybe I did call him. Deanna, and that's what somebody was saying about the sketch too, is that he was trying to bring this all together, connect them all together.
I probably was calling him for that purpose. Probably.
All right, so you don't know where the gun is at?
No, sir.
But you last saw it in Curtis Smith's possession.
I gave it to him, yes, sir.
All right. So the accounts that you were writing the checks to Curtis were Bank of America and Palmetto State Bank.
Yes, sir.
All right. And the funds, where were those funds coming from?
Well, that's maybe an area we don't want to talk about, but just let's say both of them were not legitimately obtained.
Okay. And I'm not trying to be coy. It's just that, Mr. Murdaugh.
Both the guns were not legitimately obtained. So is the jury going to start using that and thinking about that as potentially maybe he illegally obtained some guns to commit the murder? A lot of these facts coming out, you don't know what a jury is going to pick up on and what they're going to hold. But if he's illegally obtaining guns sometimes, did he illegally obtain some guns to commit the murders? I think it's a question. I think some jurors might think of that.
Is independently wealthy, so
Not anymore.
Well,
Not,
I understand that, but
not anymore. They want to make sure you know, not independently wealthy anymore.
I think it's a pertinent question. So
look, he was independently wealthy, but there's a significant amount of money missing from clients in the law firm.
Okay. So the money came from ill-gotten gains? Is that what?
Some of it, most, I would say the majority of it, but some of it, I'm sure I use my own personal funds too.
Okay.
I mean, I was buying so many.
All right, so just let me get this straight. So you entered into did you pay Curtis any money for this?
No, sir.
You didn't pay him anything, so you just asked of a favor and he did it.
Yes, sir.
Kill me.
Makes no sense, but whatever.
And so, and these checks that you were paying to Curtis, I mean, they were pretty significant, right?
Yes, sir.
And when was the last time? I know. I mean, I'm not trying to get you to it. When was the last time you made a payment to Curtis? Was it before the shooting?
It would have been. I mean, not like right before the shooting, but it would have been several days.
Okay.
So, Laura, to be fair, at this point, everybody knew Alec Murdaugh was a bad guy and up to his eyeballs in crimes. So he was able to dig a little deeper. I will tell you, he definitely went in a lot more than any SLED agent did. So I agree with you there for sure.
Remember how much you paid him?
No, sir. I think the last few times I paid him were all in check, and I was trying to, see him as soon as possible.
All right, now let me ask you this. Do you owe money to any drug dealers?
No, sir.
All right, here we
So
go.
there's
Here,
not-
sorry, I jumped the gun. This is the really important stuff about the drug dealers and the potential that they could be potential suspects in Maggie and Paul's murders.
Do you owe money to any drug dealers?
No, sir.
So there's not a threat out there that we need to worry about for Buster?
No, sir. No, sir.
They should have just stopped the interview right there, because Harpoolian comes to the rescue. And this is in evidence. So now this is evidence. We like to say what the lawyers say is not evidence. Well, Harpoolian says something here that I would argue is evidence. It is in evidence, and the jury can take it as evidence that he's about to come in and save the possibility that Curtis Eddie Smith skimmed some of the money and the drug dealers came to get it from Alec.
Okay, so the money that you were paying to Curtis to get money from his dealer or his supplier, you were paid in full in those payments. So there's no outstanding debt that we need to worry about.
No, sir.
Hey, Ryan, that's assuming that Curtis passed all the money along.
Well, no, I understand.
Sorry. It was Jimmy G. It was Jimmy G that came in for his buddy, not Harpoolian. But I'm going to rewind it again so you can hear it. Murdaugh's like, nah, I paid everybody what I owed, man. No, none of them are a threat. Buster's fine. None of them are going to hurt anybody in my family. They're not going to hurt me. I'm not worried about them. Jimmy G's like, well, unless, Curtis was skimming money, maybe they are coming after him. And that is literally an argument they're using in this trial.
Or his supplier, you were paid in full in those payments. So there's no outstanding debt that we need to worry about.
No, sir.
Hey, Ryan, that's assuming that Curtis passed all the money along.
Well, no, I understand. And so to the best of your knowledge, you don't owe anybody.
No, sir.
Okay. So the money that you paid him, you don't remember how much you paid him, but it was for pills. And you're saying that you didn't pay him at all for him to shoot you.
That's correct.
Now, I'm gonna be honest, that doesn't make any sense to me.
I understand.
And I know that, whether you did or you didn't, it really doesn't have that much of a difference. So I'm not gonna, but I appreciate you're being forthcoming and you're making every attempt to be honest at this point. But so, I just want to make sure.
But I know it's hard for you. You're making every attempt to be honest, but you're still not telling the truth. We all can see that.
On the same page. So you did not make any financial payment to Curtis to have him shoot you.
No, I did not.
Okay, but you entered into a verbal agreement with him to set up a scheme where he would shoot you. It would be a suicide set up as a robbery homicide. And you doing so was in order for your son to get your life insurance policy.
I don't know about a robbery, but everything else is true.
So let me say this: he's had this policy for 10 years. Suicide.
I've had a policy.
No, I understand policies. I mean, what is the policy with? Where's it at?
I don't know where the actual policy is.
Thank you,
Okay.
Wanda.
Did you intend to have that paperwork in the Mercedes, the will and all that information? Was that left in there intentionally?
Well, I've been down to meet with some lawyers about some things, and it was in there from that day before. I can call her name now. My Buster's girlfriend's employers, Kathy Olivetti.
Yeah. And you meet with them about why did you have wills?
Just getting things cleaned up.
Why did you have the wills in there if you were planning on being shot in the head? Again, a lot of this stuff doesn't make sense. I think he is sporadic and all over the place and has way too many things going on at once, which other people testified to that were in his life. I mean, this just seems like he was thinking 5 different things at once here.
Before it.
And Ryan, there's a 2-year statutory ban on any suicide exclusion. In other words, if you got the policy for 2 years, you can commit suicide and still collect.
Yep. Okay.
So that's not.
It's just so you know, he could have just committed suicide and he still would have got the money. And there were some questions in here. Somebody said, makes no sense. Why didn't he just shoot himself besides asking Eddie to do it? Kathy said, Alec thought there was a suicide exclusion, so he wasn't going to be able to collect if he committed suicide. And Randy, we're definitely covering Lori Vallow. It's just been tough. The interest has dropped because there's no cameras in the courtroom.
Now, what he thought really doesn't matter, but he may have thought.
Yeah.
There's been a problem.
Okay. But you still entered into an agreement basically to have him kill you so your son would then reap the insurance benefits. And
Yeah.
Okay.
That you in. Is that true?
Yes, sir.
All right. So how did you get the knife? Was it your knife?
I think that Eddie gave it to me. Curtis Eddie Smith gave it to me.
Okay. And then how did you make the tire flat?
It had both of their DNA on it.
I just stuck it.
So you punctured the tire with a knife?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so Eddie gave you the knife. You took the knife and punctured the tire.
Correct.
And then what did you do with the knife?
Threw it.
Threw it where?
I believe across the road, but I'm not absolutely positive.
Okay, you threw it. You disposed of it in the area of where the Mercedes was parked?
I think I threw it across the road from where it was parked.
Okay. Do you know if they disposed of the gun out there?
I do not know.
Okay. Was that gun registered to anybody?
Probably.
Probably to who?
Should have been. I believe that I purchased it, so I believe it would be registered to me.
Do you remember when you purchased it?
No, sir.
So a lot of you guys corrected me, which is good. That's why I love you, Monica. I thought he said funds, not guns. And Caprice also said, didn't he say the funds were not legally obtained, not guns? Hey, good job. Because if I was on the jury and I heard guns, which is what I heard, you guys would be there to correct me. So thank you. I appreciate that. And now he's saying the gun was registered to him. So not daddy's gun or some random person's gun, but he was stashing his gun at his mom's house. Interesting.
Where would you purchase it? Piano?
I got no idea.
You don't have Curtis Eddie's phone number?
Sir?
You have Curtis Eddie's phone numbers?
If y'all have them, we'd love to get them.
Yeah.
All right, so now they start getting into some property, they get into phone numbers, and then he almost repeats everything and goes through the story yet again. So he again apologizes for lying, and nobody knew about the plans except for he himself. After the recording, he repeated, and Waters very skillfully came up and said, so there was no risk to Buster and no threat, right? And Kelly said yes. And to me, it still feels like this had nothing to do with Moselle, but I thought that was a great point to make from Waters right at the end. And I think this makes him look so horrible, but a lot of your questions are going to point us down the alley I want to go for more explanation. So hit that like button if you haven't already, and make sure you subscribe. Let me know if you're new to the channel from this case. I love hearing that. I love hearing when people come on a specific case. We are over 11,000 in the chat. It's our biggest chat we've had during the trial. Maybe we can get to 12,000 before we're done, because now we are going to go rapid fire, answering question time. And this is my favorite part of the video. Harpoolian said the cross is going to be extensive, so we're going to hear the cross tomorrow. I can't wait to hear that. I think this cross is going to be electric. I absolutely think the defense has an angle that they are planning to use surrounding this entire roadside incident, and I can't wait to hear what it is. I think it's going to be drugs, drug dealers, gangs, danger. He didn't know. But I'm going to save some of it to answer some of these questions. EJ, Peter, I feel like the prosecution has gotten so far away from the point and are spinning wheels. Thoughts? Did the defense want the roadside stuff to come in? We'll see how well they do tomorrow. They didn't seem as beat up about it as I thought they would. I don't think the prosecution's spinning their wheels. I think they're stacking bad character on top of each other so the jury hates Alec Murdaugh. Lindsay, I've been wondering this all day. I'm not a fun person. Is it possible that the murderer double yielded the guns? Oh, I'm not a fun person. I think you meant I'm not a gun person, because Lindsay, I bet you look like a fun person. Is it possible that the murderer double yielded the guns? I think a lot of things are possible. A single individual shooter is definitely possible. I think the timeline makes it less likely. Ranger fan, is Curtis Eddie Smith related to Stephen Smith, young man found on the road a few years ago whom Buster said he was associated with? That's a great question. I have no idea. John O'Rourke, did I see Harp and Waters kind of go at it today? I think they kind of go at it most days. John, yet another what if ATV possibility from the prosecution. To me, that doesn't benefit the jurors. So many possibilities, but nothing concrete. Does that confuse jurors? I think it's just another thing the defense can point to that, oh, look at all these possibilities they're bringing up. What can they actually prove? Kim, no one asked him about how the sheet covering the bodies would impact the blood spatters. Seems important. Yet another mess up in the investigation, right? What a shocker. Jennifer, why is the flat tire the first thing he says? I mean, if he was shot, wouldn't that be the emergency? Yeah, but he had this story he was ready to tell. Stella, MM went to the house on an errand from AM. PM shot. AM fell backwards. Second shot from the ground. MM came running. This gives AM time to change guns. Thoughts? I don't think, if he did it, I think he just went and got Paul, had the other weapon slung up, and then went and got Maggie, and he planned on making it look like two shooters. I don't think there were a lot of surprises to him. Out cool. With motive not being required, can the jury find him guilty if they don't believe the state's motive but otherwise believe he did it? Absolutely. Absolutely. They can find their own motive that they believe, or just they think that he lied and he must have been there and he must have done it. George the Cat, if police get someone to sign a plea deal, can they lie to get them to sign it? Can that plea deal be revoked later? Or do written documents hold different weight and mean more to the court? This is a loaded question that could take 15 minutes to answer. They can't lie to induce somebody to sign a plea deal. You can't be lied to or coerced or induced to sign a plea deal. Melanie, who can even tell with this guy? The lie, or is he lying about telling the lie, or about telling the truth? I don't even know. I don't think the state does either. I agree with you there. I see you. Listen to his jailhouse tapes with Buster. The man is still trying to rule and control his son from behind bars. I did hear some of that, and it is sad. I feel bad for Buster. Alicia, if you listen to his tone and voice in the Murder 911 versus this 911, you see how he sounds different in the two. Murder 911, he panics. I agree, and I think there were as many differences in these two stories as there were similarities, and that's where I think the defense is going. Sherry H. Hi, Peter. If Alex is found not guilty or there is a hung jury, will Alex be let out of jail? No. Or will he be held for the financial crimes? Yes. Thank you for updating us and your input. At this point, there is so much evidence and admissions of him committing these financial crimes, he ain't getting out. Anna Marie S. I respectfully disagree. I don't believe for 1 minute he intended to be fatally wounded. He wanted sympathy and rehab, so he is a mastermind. Okay, let's take this another couple steps, Anna Marie. So he did all this for sympathy, admitted it. That's insurance fraud. You're going to prison. So if he's a criminal mastermind, I think they usually don't end up in prison. Sandwich Slave. After his audio and failed murder-suicide, I'm convinced he's not guilty. He admitted to every other crime as well because of his guilt. Boom. Sandwich Love, you hit the nail on the head. I would be shocked and disappointed in the defense if they did not make this same exact argument. Let's talk about this, ladies and gentlemen. The stealing from his clients, he admitted it. Stealing from his partners and other lawyers he knew, he admitted it. He apologized. Hurting his staff, he apologized in this text message right here. Lying to the cops about the fake suicide, he apologized. He has admitted everything he's done wrong. He didn't do this. I absolutely think they're going to make that argument. People think he's horrible at committing crimes. I think he's a master. He never wanted to die. He wanted sympathy. He manipulates everyone all the time. And then does such a bad job that anyone could figure it out, or he just admits to it in most of the crimes eventually, except for this one. Sandy, even if he had died, wouldn't all the money from his insurance and estate have gone toward restitution for his financial crimes? There wouldn't be any money left for Buster. Depends. Certain life insurance policies can go straight to the beneficiary. They don't necessarily go to the estate. So that's how it seemed like it was set up. Beth, truth is AM needs serious help. How does someone lose their way so badly? I don't, some people could say greed. There's a lot of things, but it is really sad to watch. Asher, had the Attorney General charged him with hiring a hitman for his wife and son, would they have had to find the hitman first in order to charge him? No, you can be charged with conspiracy without knowing who the co-conspirator is. Sawyer, conspiracy, mostly humor. AM not guilty of murder, admits financial case. He paid Poot and JG with the stolen money. Genji Pravs, daily, I've been in the not guilty camp, tons of doubt, but do you think the pendulum could swing to the state because jurors are tired of the defense's explanations? I'm starting to feel some yes, but fatigue. I'd be surprised, but it's possible. Dark Arts. Won't the jurors be reminded before deliberations to judge him based off the evidence of murder? Yes, and they've been read that special instruction multiple times. Selena, do you think his side of the road incident was poorly thought out because he had law enforcement did the murder investigation, or he thought he'd be dead and wanted to be sure Eddie got caught? I think he thought he'd be dead, and that's kind of where the thinking ended. Krista, so Buster might have killed the boy on the road. Paul might have killed the maid. and the girl on the boat. AM might have killed his wife and son. This family is wild. Gingy Probs. Also, I stole from everyone and was bad with money, but I always paid my dealer on time as a weird flex. Hey, Gingy, that's a great, great point. Permanent juror. We all have the ability to play back the testimony. The jurors can't even take notes. You wouldn't be able to change my mind. The state hasn't convinced me that AM is guilty of the murders. They've brought in too much other stuff. Permanent juror, I agree with you at this point, and it is really weird to think they can't take notes. Oh, also very weird that the judge appointed a foreperson at this time. In every case I've ever tried, the jurors decide who the foreperson is. It's kind of like a natural leader, and that's usually the best way because they're able to push forward and get a verdict when times get tough. If the judge appoints kind of like a follower, sometimes somebody else can try to be the leader, and then there can be butting heads, and there can kind of be problems there. I agree, Mary Claire. I'm a pharmacist and see addicts every day. They definitely change mentally and physically daily, Jacqueline said. And yeah, this did happen after rehab, so that's possible. Delta Girl, can AM be called due to being in all these videos? No. Still has Fifth Amendment right. Carlos Sue, definitely possible to spend that much on drugs. Okay. Court K, 50K a week on drugs. How is he not dead? Oh, look, I love when there's two back-to-back comments that totally disagree. Myra, if anyone in the jury has experience with addicts, they might be able to separate the lies from the murder. Addicts lie. That's what they do. That's a good point. Teria, I think everyone wants to assume he's guilty because of the financial crimes. It's hard to watch. Guilty just because he's made other mistakes, which is what the law is supposed to protect against. Susie, no way AM spent 50K on drugs, laundering money. Cousin Eddie, not offing best customer. It's a lot of discussion about what he did with that money. Anna, he admitted everything. I think he was set up for the murders as payback, maybe being blackmailed and can't talk. Is he taking the blame and more are involved? It's possible. Maybe he's protecting Buster somehow for some kind of retaliation that he doesn't want to happen. Thank you, None at Nowhere. Amy in Boston, they really should have gone with conspiracy. I agree, but I mean, I can't tell them what to do if they obviously thought there wasn't enough evidence for that. Stacy Sleuth, someone made up this drug addiction stuff. I'm not buying it. So another attempt at sympathy, huh? That would be interesting. I feel like Cousin Eddie could blow that out of the water. Melanie, Alex playing ADHD chess on this confession call. Was it, did you see the video? I didn't see the video of it. Tammy, Peter, thank you for being so clear and objective. You help make a little more sense of this. Too easy for me to get lost in all of it. Don't blame yourself because it is easy to get lost, period. Thank you, Nicole. Betty Spag, crazy they're trying to make out killing himself so Buster get insurance payout as some noble deed. Buster only just lost his mom and brother. I agree. Some people do think they're worth more to people just in money than they are themselves, but hopefully he's figured out that's not true. DJ Holiday, he could have staged the roadside shooting for religious reasons, trying to con God to also to make it appear targeted to clear his name in the murders. He clearly said it was because he thought there was a suicide clause. He was just wrong about that. Susie, Peter, I think you have an allergy cough, RN, but this is medical advice. It could be. I think it could be. There's pollen like crazy right now. My pool is covered with it. Kim D, why would Cousin Eddie agree to kill him if he was receiving 50K per week? Makes zero sense. No way that money was for drugs. I love when you guys have a common theme. And to me, most of you think that that was not true about the 50K and that Cousin Eddie would not want to kill his money horse or gift horse or whatever you call it. Mary Malarkey, scripted by DH. All the lies move the needle for me. Melissa, why did he even bother with the whole flat tire thing if he actually planned to die? Seems like he was putting himself together a story to tell. Maybe, I mean, plausibly thinking, maybe he was telling Cousin Eddie to help you not get caught for this. I'll pretend like I'm with some bystander and somebody shot me. But again, I think he absolutely lies about the lies, just like he lies about the truth. Tracy, welcome to you and all the new members I'm excited to have here. Jennifer, didn't it go from his own knife to Cousin Eddie giving him the knife? I don't know. Point is, they found the knife with both their DNA on it because he's bad at committing crimes, I think. Sweet Tea, it's like the real life Better Call Saul. You're not the first person to say that. I still haven't watched it, but you're not the first person to say that. Peter, a true Mandime. Thank you, Sam Marson. Mandime, like I feel like I got to get some merch with Mandime on. I've never heard that before, and I like it. Joe, if he's convicted, is their appeal strong? Yes. I think this other bad acts, the financial crimes and this side of the road incident, is a great appellate issue. Jody, I'm so curious. Did Maggie know all about his financial crimes since she wouldn't sign the beach house over? Nobody has argued that that's a reason. So I really want to try. And I saw some other comments about it. The state has not argued that her not signing the beach house over was hurting him for money. Alameda Bank was clear they would have still given him money. That's why I think it was important what they sold those properties for, way more than they appraised for, way more than any loan or mortgage they had out on those houses. So I do not think that this is a motive. I think people are trying to reach, and understandably so, because I don't think they've really proved that financial motive, that he actually fixed the financial crimes with these murders. Adanada confessed because the knife was found. AM wanted to look like the target of family vendetta to take suspicion off of him. Did he know that the knife was found? KJ, he asked Blanca for medical cards because he knew he was going to the hospital that day after the shooting. So you think he was worried about like paying for the hospital bill at this point, or like health insurance? I don't know. Dre and Jenny, welcome. Mary Lee, thoughts about Curtis being hired several months before the rehab interview to dig ditches? No idea what to think about that. Eric Allen, LOL, I already harassed you this AM. Oh, yeah, I know. I definitely have not gotten to it. Jesse Sue, no question tonight. Just want to tell you how much I love these videos every night, and hearing what is going on saves my phone battery during the day. Keep being awesome, Peter. Thank you, Jesse Sue. And so many people are so incredibly nice, and I love it. It makes me feel so good. Like it's a great atmosphere and a great vibe for just people to be nice. I encourage people to try it and continue to do it in this chat because it's fun being nice. Ximena, okay, he just lost his wife and son, is in lots of trouble. Isn't it possible he was so depressed he saw this as his only escape to cover his other son? I think that was his point. He is an addict, a thief, but I don't see the murders. I think that was absolutely his point for all of this. Deborah B. Peter, great to see you on the Megyn Kelly show. Thank you. Yes, we talked through this trial and some of this stuff with Megyn Kelly today. It was interesting. She had some interesting takes on it, I think, as well. None at nowhere. On one hand, they were sloppy and threw the knife across the road. On the other hand, the bullet was 1 millimeter short of being fatal. Just another puzzling piece. I think that was dumb luck, if you ask me. T-Sky, my theory. AM got Eddie to shoot him this time because AM knew he couldn't kill himself since he couldn't complete a murder-suicide on June 7th. He also couldn't kill his family dog. Mary Claire, or hunting dog, whatever. At the beginning of this interview, he was asked whose knife it was. He said it was his. And then he said, I think Eddie gave it to me. So technically, the both could be true, right? The knife could be his and Eddie could have given it to him. He apologizes when his chips are cashed. No doubt about that. Aja, I feel like it was right after rehab that he started apologizing and taking ownership out of everything. I'm really seeing strong addict patterns here. And it's funny because some people are saying they do. Some people are saying they're not. I feel like I've seen a lot of different behaviors out of addicts, so I don't really know if I could call it. He might as well have shot them. He got them shot. Adanada. Tinsley said AM didn't have life insurance. I agree. I think that's wrong. I think Tinsley was just wrong. Taco Supreme. To expand on last night's question on father and hospice, he had also been confronted by CFO on stealing the 792K. Alex could not let his father go to his grave knowing he was a thief of the worst kind. So he'd rather have his dad go to his grave, losing his daughter-in-law and his grandson. I don't know. I can see arguments on both sides of this. Bunny Fufu, do you think prosecution has more? I'm almost there. I think they're done. I think this is it. I think this side of the road is it. They may have like one more witness, but I think they saved Agent Owen and side of the road to finish. Azam, I am so happy I get to join this from the beginning today. Thanks for your time, Peter. You are amazing. Azam, it's always happier when you're here. Terry, Peter, no way he has done these pills this many years and functioned. I don't know. I don't know. My son is 37, was on them 2 years, and he's in rehab. AM is lying about his years long addiction. He couldn't do his job at all. I've seen some really high functioning people taking these pills, but I don't know. You could be right. Hoot and Annie, at the murder scene, the blue tarp or raincoat is on the front seat of the Suburban in the first video. People did say that. I must have missed it. Thank you for the super sticker. Azam. Law Nerd Clips. Please sing This Is the Trial That Never Ends. I have a horrible singing voice, guys, okay? So don't ask me to sing, especially when it's gone. Rob. Don't skip this one. Speculation on a Friday afternoon cliffhanger for the prosecution. What's it going to be? You know it's coming. I don't know. I feel like they're going to rest tomorrow, don't you? Except for the fact that Harpoolian said that they have some experts that they're flying in and they have to put on Friday. So maybe that'll delay the prosecution's case enough to where they can come back on Monday. But you think there's going to be some kind of cliffhanger? I don't know what the heck else they could have unless it's Eddie. It's the only thing I can think of. Jojo, I still hope he didn't kill his family. I know it's naive, but it seems like he loved his family, and I want to believe he wouldn't kill his family, I guess, unless there is psychosis. Virginia, the big problem with his lies is that you can't believe anything he said. So the jurors have to figure out what info came from Alec and what didn't. I agree. It is a tough job for the jury, no doubt. Jacques, welcome to the crew. Twitter, can this defense call Eddie if the state doesn't? Absolutely. I'm sure they have on the witness list, they either have Eddie or they say all of the witnesses listed on the state's witness list. Alexis, interesting how he threw the knife across the street like Maggie's phone. Hey, I like the connections, and I think this is the point of the jurors. This is exactly what I wanted out of you guys, and you're doing it. I say, look how it's different from the murders. He did such a horrible job. You say, actually, here's how he did a horrible job on the murders. He just tossed Maggie's phone. Elise, did they find his insurance policy? I think it is confirmed there was an insurance policy, but I could be wrong about that. There are so many things going on in this case. Susie, so go get the allergy medication, try it, and do the same cough gone. I don't love taking allergy medication, but if it lasts, I will. JP, behavior consistent with addiction. Defense should separate the man from the illness. Many people are impacted directly and indirectly by addiction. I'm sure there are people on the jury that have been. I'm sure. Dre is a new member. Marianne, thank you so much for the super sticker. And to answer the RN's questions in here, I do like Dayquil and NyQuil. I assume those are probably horrible for you too, but those are kind of my go-tos when I start feeling a little off. Kristen M. AM admitting to money crimes, not the same as murder. SC has death penalty. The money crimes won't get him the chair. Well, at this point, they're not even seeking the death penalty. So the money crimes can literally get him more time than this. I mean, life is life, but theoretically speaking, because of how many financial crimes there are, he can get more time with that. Kaya, if there's a hung jury and the state wants to retry the case, how soon would they need to have the new trial, since he's not waiving his right to speedy trial? Would the same judge preside over a new trial? I absolutely think the same judge would preside. I don't know how they deal with it in South Carolina if there's a hung jury and there's another new trial, but I'm sure it's in the rules somewhere. Law and Lumber. If so good at committing murder without evidence, how was murder for hire so easy to prove? Not guessing, just poking for thoughts. Friday Night Frenzy is going to be fun. I'm with you, dude. I'm with you. To me, this proves there ain't no way he did this again on his own, because it was just way too fixed up and cleaned up, and his alibi was way too close to the times of death. Amanda, strongly believe there is a massive piece of this puzzle we don't know and probably never will. That is frustrating, and you're probably not wrong. Lulu, welcome. DC Primetime. Defense argued Eddie couldn't shoot a target a foot away from him. Why not shoot him twice if on a mission? I agree with you. Something's just not adding up. Like, if you don't hit him the first time, you can finish the job. And I agree, that takes Eddie out as a suspect or even as a co-conspirator in the double murder, because he couldn't even take care of it when conditions were perfect and the person he was shooting wanted him to shoot him. Jennifer Landers, thank you so much for the super sticker. Charlene, he disgraced his legacy. He couldn't face it. Nunzio, I second Eric Allen YouTube channel. Great history, well-researched on the Murdaugh family and all their issues. Been watching Lawyer Know since Popcorn Shooting. Keep up the good work. Smash the like button. Wow, okay. Curtis Reeves trial. That's interesting. That's an OG. That's a different one. Not one I hear as often. Ladybug, FYI, SC code, judge appoints foreman. Sure. I just think it's weird. I absolutely believe he's following the rules. I just think it's weird. Michelle, how can you be so sloppy in one crime, then kill two loved family members and clean everything and almost have the perfect crime? I mean, one explanation, honestly, that I keep hearing is Sled dropped the ball on purpose because of who he was, and they were going to cover it up for him. That makes the most sense. Trish Shee, I think he knew he was going to prison on money crimes and would be sick, withdrawal, would have rather died than get sober. And that's also a common theme with addicts. Massage girl, Still no explanation for him being in the kennel video. Well, he could have left before the murders took place. I think that's a plausible explanation because the time of death is not immediately 8:45. Tequila Roses and Jessica B. Welcome. Adanada, frustrated. You believe AM said he had that suicide clause. He lies. Okay. That's fair. That's true. He could absolutely be lying. Absolutely. That one makes sense, but okay. Susie Credur, PPP, platinum plated pills, only the best for the Murdaughs. Seraph, also, I don't know if it's important, but Alex sounds the same in the roadside 911 call as he does in the 911 call he made after finding Maggie and Paul. Gosh, I don't think he sounds the same at all. But again, different jurors could look at it differently. Candy, welcome. Take reacting, Deborah. 10 milligrams at bedtime, last 24 hours. I'll have to look into that. I'll look into it. Tori, just got here. Sorry if I missed it. Will you still do a live on Monday? Fingers crossed. Love you, Peter, from your OG Ride or Die. We will see. I was planning on not doing it, but since you asked, I will consider it. I'm going to be at a conference Tuesday to Friday. I posted on Instagram if you guys want to see it. I'm speaking at the conference in Orlando. So I am going to be doing some remote lives at night there. I'm going to bring some kind of mobile setup. You can follow me at Tragos Law on Instagram and Twitter. And make sure you hit that like button today. All right. We got 12,000, our biggest chat so far of this trial. So hit that like button. We're trying to get to 10,000 likes. Somebody tell me where we're at. Beth C, thank you for the super sticker. Permanent juror. Donna D and I agree. No way he could function or hide a 60 pill a day addiction. Is that what it comes out to? 60 pills a day? It's just not possible. Addicts age so incredibly fast. He is not an addict. He may have been high right before entering rehab, but not normally. And guess what? If he is a mastermind here, maybe he did plan to be high before going into rehab, knowing they were going to test him. The Lily Dragon, welcome. Red Riding Hood. What do you think about that GoFundMe from Tinsley? Horrible. I think it's just really, really poor form. We talked about it in another video at length, but I'm not a fan of it. Kayla, only good at crimes until an actual investigation. Except for the murder case. But I guess you're saying that wasn't a good investigation. So there you go. Derby Mom, could this verdict impact sentence for his financial crimes? Yes, it could be an enhancer for the financial crimes, but it's going to be multiple life sentences. So Pascal, AM mentioned people do anything when I'm in withdrawal. He said he was in heavy withdrawal, murder and desperation mode, and fear no more drug money. Great pickup. And maybe the prosecution will say that. I think I might add that to my closing. He admitted in that video when people are going through withdrawal, they'll do anything. But do we have any evidence he was going through withdrawal on June 7th? I don't think so. But fair point. Also, timing. PM murdered same day as firm called. Roadside same day. Met with the attorneys to find out the depths of his troubles. I agree, and I think that's a connection they're going to make. Thank you, Elizabeth. All right, I got about 10 more questions to get through. And we got to call it. We're not going 2 hours tonight. Nefertiti, it is weird. Is it weird to you that neither Maggie nor Paul didn't have life insurance, especially Maggie given her age? I've had life insurance since I was 20. I'll tell you a secret. Whitney doesn't have life insurance, but I do. So I don't think it's that uncommon. I think it's a decision families make. Linda, thank you. Jazz John, in rehab during 12 steps, it's common knowledge. Oh yeah, people keep one deep secret to themselves. Oh, sorry, I thought you were going to say he apologizes. Doesn't surprise me he wouldn't admit he would admit the others, not the murder. Interesting. I did not know that. Natasha, hey Peter, watching from Australia since the Johnny Depp days. Awesome to make a live. I'm glad you were able to make a live as well. Thank you, Emma. Cindy, dad died 3 days later, late night, fresh dirt dig for the gun. Why don't they go do it now? Go dig up the whole yard now. Jamie H. Don't agree saying he lied about so much, so he is guilty. Oh, I'm in your camp with that. Lying does not make you a murderer. I agree. If it does, everyone is guilty of murder because everyone has lied at some point in their life. Even little white lies lie. 100% agree with all that. I agree with you. That's what I'm saying. I think they've proven he's a liar and he stole money and he's a thief, but they've not proven he's a murderer. DC Primetime. Tone has changed tonight in this chat. Interesting. Which way? Which way has it changed? Rocky. 14 years ago, I did I don't know what that, I know it's supposed to be code for something. I'm 5'9", 135 pounds. Oh, Oxy. No one knew, including hubby and kids, till 2 months after I got myself clean. I have heard stories like that too. Tanya Webster. Hi, lawyer. Why didn't he kill Buster if he felt he had to kill Paul and Maggie? I don't get that part of it. I agree. I think that's a great point. Like why not kill the CFO or people that actually know about the financial crimes? No court Monday's a holiday, Selena. I agree. That's why I was planning on not doing a live, but we'll see. Gracia Serta. You should really try to connect with Mandy Matney. She's our local reporter that better yet, took on this case when no one else would. Interesting. Bev Taylor. Given that all or most of the jurors know and or have association with the Murdaughs, why wasn't there a change in venue to another county for this case? Neither side asked for it, I guess. Michelle. Or did he set up a really bad crime scene to prove there's no way he couldn't pull off the perfect crime? So we're getting like Matrix, like multi-levels or Inception. Jennifer Johnson, close the chat and hit the like button. It only takes 1 second. Yeah, please hit the like button. Emma P, please explain to me how AM is facing life for the financial crimes when corporate execs who commit financial crimes, Enron, don't even get that because he has got 99 financial crimes. And I think I heard somebody explain that there, if you get 3 financial crimes, you get life without parole. If 3 of the ones that he's charged with, which seems wild to me. Thank you, Julie Jones. TFM, welcome. Southeast Nighttime. I was a juror on a murder trial. We didn't have the luxury to watch YouTube, TV, or ask to have anything explained. We got what was presented. That's what it always should be. Jurors should not be watching YouTube. They should not be watching this. They should not be watching anybody's show. They should not be getting things explained to them. They should only rely on what they hear in court. And if they are watching this, they should tell the judge, and they should probably not be involved in the decision-making of this case. Lindsay M. So if Alec didn't do it, he did, then who did it? Drug dealers or what's the guy's name? The guy that had the racist story. Courtney Glamour. I don't know. I was saying those are what they're saying. A hot toddy will help the cough. Much love from Texas. I did have one of those on your recommendations. I forgot to take a picture of it. I think you're talking about the thing from, or no. I didn't have a hot toddy. My wife has talked about making one of those, but I did have the bomb, the whatever thing from Starbucks. CJID. Maybe fidgets when in withdrawals. That's a good point. Hey, Peter, why is it insurance fraud? He didn't die. Policy didn't kick in. Is it because he planned it out with Eddie? Yes, he planned to commit insurance fraud. So it could be an attempt to commit insurance fraud. Lori Steele. Peter, I don't know if they actually have that there. I'm just saying in my mind, that's a crime that it would fit with. I think it is one of the crimes he's charged with. Lori Steele. Peter, $50,000 per week, $5 a pill, 1,428 pills per day. My mother died from taking 22 pills per day. No way he was taking that many pills. Could money laundering? What do you think? Or selling the drugs? Or doing stuff with, the gang, the drug dealing gangs. I don't know. You missed my message. Please read up to my member. Sorry, Misty. I hit as many of them as I absolutely can. Any chance they're off on the time of death, Madeline? Sure, there's always a chance. Just FYI, I hit absolutely as many super chats as I can. I cannot be on for 5 hours. I think I hit like 99% of them. I really do my best to hit most all of them. So I appreciate everybody that's getting involved in the conversation. It makes it a lot more fun and a lot more enjoyable. We did it in under an hour and a half, which seems better than 2 hours, but not quite 1 hour. We are going to answer just one more question on the way out, but I am calling it now. So if you're taking off, hit that like button on your way out. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see most of you hopefully tomorrow night again to break down the final day of is it week 4? This trial was supposed to be over. Tiffany, I don't think sympathy was his main motive. He set it up to make it look like he's still targeted. Red herring. I think that's probably more likely, as he wanted to show there was kind of some connection. Donna Hall, go to video, watch live Alec Murdaugh, 15th trial day on Crime Talk YouTube channel. In the first couple comments, I've left instructions on where to find the Buster was there at the kennel video. Interesting. All right. That's all I've got tonight. Love you all. See you next time. Hit that like button on your way out.